I had my second child, Anthony, when I was 34. It was a planned pregnancy, but my partner didn't want to be involved, so I ended up raising 2 children by myself. When Anthony was 2, I started medical school. That's the first time I became ill. I had trouble finding a nursery school place for him, and when I couldn't get any help, I wrote to the city council several times and finally got offered a place. One day I visited the nursery and Anthony was really scared and frightened. He didn't want to go back. So I told the staff about my concerns and they banned me from the nursery. I had to get someone else to pick him up and drop him to nursery for me. I think it was around this time that they started writing me letters saying, "You're mad, you're an aggressive black woman." You know, if you make a complaint as a black woman, it's not seen as a complaint, it's seen as being aggressive. It was around this time that I got diagnosed with being a paranoid schizophrenic, and they sectioned me. My earliest memory is when I was 2, of my mum when she was leaving Barbados for England. I was crying and she gave me this talcum powder tin to play with. I didn't see her again until 10 years later when I came to England to be with her, to be with my family. My dad had already left for England when I was a baby. Me and my 7 siblings, we were all split up. I was left in the care of an uncle. My mum used to send money for me to go to school, but it wasn't used for that. So I didn't go to school. I had a horrendous time. I was beaten, didn't get a lot to eat. I remember one time eating cat food out of the cat bowl. I was so sick, I vomited and vomited. When I was 6, I was sexually abused by an uncle. I was so ashamed. But I was just a little girl. When I first came to England, there were 9 of us in 2 rooms in a house with only a paraffin heater to stay warm. One of my earliest memories is my dad telling us that if we ever experienced racism, to tell him. One day I was walking to school, I was with my brother, and this old man called us niggers. My brother said, "What did you just say?" And he was like, "Well, you're a bunch of niggers. You should go back to the country you come from." School was hard at first, as I didn't get to go to school in Barbados. Mum was a qualified teacher in Barbados. She couldn't get a teaching job in England, but she taught me how to read and write. I was really lucky because there was an Asian teacher who really fought for me, and I was changed from the CSC group to the O-level group, I was able to catch up and did my O-levels and A-levels at the same time. I became more confident and was encouraged to go to college. After I got a diploma, I worked for social services, and then I was headhunted to be the first woman in a senior position in that city. Later, I went to medical school. Would all of this have happened if that teacher didn't fight for me? When I was 21 and trying to get a degree, I met Jared, who was white. I moved to a different city to be with him. But no matter what people say about it being good in an interracial relationship, it's a bit difficult. For example, I go somewhere and it's mainly all white people. And I say, oh, I don't really fancy going in there. If I'm with a black person, then they understand. They're like, yeah, I understand. But with him, I had to explain that, oh, it's because they're all white and I don't really want to, get any racist comments or whatever. It was harder going out with a white person. So we split up. After we broke up, Jared was a great support with my firstborn from another partner because I was a single mum. It was hard. I was studying at uni and he stayed with me for 3 weeks. He'd get up in the night and feed the baby, stuff like that. I remember a psychiatrist said that my experiences of racism weren't real, that they were part of my psychosis. So everything about my experiences, my lived experiences, was called into question. The first time that they sectioned me when I was going through my issues with the nursery and going to uni, I wasn't actually ill. It was people's interpretations of my actions that made them think that I was psychotic. And then it just escalated and escalated. Then I became ill. The worst thing is when the police came, they just come and drag you out of the house. I was even more worried about the children. I begged them, please, please, I promise I will come in. I just need to tell my children that I love them and that I'm not leaving them. It's just that mummy's ill and needs to go into hospital. But they wouldn't let me. As a black woman, people think that you're aggressive or violent or whatever. I think that influenced the way that I was treated. My only positive experiences with mental health services was with psychology. 2 weeks before I was discharged was the first time anyone actually sat me down and listened to me. It was a psychologist and she was great. We sat down and we talked about issues that had happened at work and things that had happened in my childhood, everything like that. When I told her about my experiences with hospitalizations, I remember she looked at me and she went, it's us that's been stressing you out. This was the first time anyone had seen it from the outside rather than the inside. Yeah.